All right, we're back. It is COMP229, and we are in the fall 2016 semester at Centennial. Again, Advanced Web Application Development. It's week 2, part 3 of our broadcast. We just did a basic application, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up the second PowerPoint presentation. Now, this PowerPoint has a lot of code that's inside of it as well. Yeah, there's no way I'm going through each of these slides. But things we're going to be talking about in this section, and imagine this is day 2, all right? So we just finished day 1, here's day 2, right? I mean, that's really what it's like, right? Because we're like, we almost have like another hour and a half or whatever to go. So think about it. We're going to talk about web forms, what they are, server controls in detail, and master pages. But guess what I'm going to do? I'm not going to go through everything inside this PowerPoint. I'm not even going to look at the PowerPoint too much. I'm going to go into the details of the master pages, how to make master pages, right? That's the first thing I'm going to do with you guys. And then after we make master pages, we're going to redo our default page with just the pieces that we need, okay? So that's what we're going to do. So how do we do this? So that you have all the pieces to start going on your assignment number 1, like today. You don't have to wait until, a week from now to get it going, right? All right, so we made this little page, but this page doesn't use a master page, right? This is nice, but it's not really useful for us because we want to have this same stuff in here. One thing to note is, in my pages, I want to have a navigation scheme that I can go from one page to the other. I'm going to make a 5-page site today, right? 5 pages. 5 pages, just like your 5 pages, right? I'm going to show you how to do it, and it's going to be quick, right? But remember, we've already know how to do one page. Once we know how to do one page, we can do one page after the other, all right? So how do we do this thing, and how do we create a master page? That's the key. I want to make a master page on my project, and I'm going to click Add, and I'm going to go New Item. Okay, I'm going to go for the long way, okay? Notice that there is web form. I'll wait until it comes back. Web form with master page, which is one we want to start doing, but we don't have a master page yet. But further down here, there is master pages somewhere in here, right? So if I just type in here, master page, if I just type master, notice that there is web form master page. And there's also web forms master page nested, because I can have one master page in another if I want to. Let's just use this one, web forms master page. Notice that it defaults to site1.master. That's what it asked me to put in. I don't want to use that. I just want to call it site master. You could also call it front master, main master, but the last part has to be .master. All master pages end in .master. Then press Add. It's going to add this master page. Notice that the site master page is in the root of my document. So here's my root of my project. Right here is my site master page, right here. Okay? So site master. Notice that it comes up with some default stuff already. There's my site master. Now, we've already done this thing, but notice there's a couple of additional tags. There's one tag that says an ASP content placeholder tag right here, and there's also an ASP content placeholder tag right here. So there's one for the head of my document, and there's one for the body of my document, and I can include as many as I want. What are these content placeholders? Think about them as containers or places that I can inject stuff. All right, so why would I want to do that? I want to do that. I want to inject stuff. Could you grab the door, please? I want to inject stuff because what I want to do is I want to place my content inside here. So I want to do my navigation bar inside my master page, because my navigation is going to be the same between each page. I'm not going to change my navigation scheme, right? So when I build in my navigation, it's going to be here. Notice that my directive for my master page says @master. That's how I know it's a master page. Okay. It also has, master pages also have a code behind file. So if I look at my master page, it also has a site.master.cs. Okay, so it has a code behind file for it. Okay, cool. What I want to do is I want to implement navigation. So remember, I'm not going to do things from scratch. So I'm going to go over here to my Bootstrap. Here's getting started with Bootstrap. And I want to talk about navigation. Now, navigation, there's components, right? I'm going to point out some Bootstrap stuff for you, right? There's components. And if you notice, there's navbar under components. I want to take a look at what navbar looks like. Here's my navbar. And I want to use the classic navbar that I want to get. Now, this whole thing is the navbar. Whew, it's crazy, right? I want to use it all. I want to use the entire navbar, right? and I want to copy this thing, and then we'll pare it down. So I'm going to click copy, and I'm going to go back to my page, right? And inside, in my body, the body of my document, before my content placeholder, right? Before my content placeholder, and below my form, right? I'm going to put in my navigation. So this is where my navigation is going to live, right here. Why? I don't want to put it in my content placeholder because that's where my custom code is going to go for each page. So each page is going to render its own content inside that special area, all right? So I want to put it here. And let me show you. When I press Control V, right? Oh, I got all this code now. And notice that I have another form on the page. I can have multiple forms on the page, but I don't need it all right? Let's take a look at stuff that I do need and the stuff that I don't need. First of all, and I'm going to undo this in a second, notice that I have a nav top level component, but I want to think about how I'm going to position my navigation on my page. My navigation, if you look at an example that's on the page, looks like this. This is what my navigation bar is going to look like, okay? I don't want all this stuff in my navigation, right? I don't want my drop-down list. I don't want this, right? I want these links. I want my brand. This is where my logo is probably going to go in my case, right? I don't want this stuff, and I don't want this stuff, and I have to decide whether I want my links to be on the left or on the right. I'm thinking the right in this particular case. So I want to get rid of all the other stuff that I don't need. And also notice that there's a bit of margin in this particular example between the nav bar. So what I want to do is I want to make it so that the nav bar doesn't have anything else. It's not inside another container, just like this, all right? Now it contains a container fluid inside of it, which is another container that has very little margin, right? That's one thing it does. And it has a nav bar header, right? And notice that there's these icon bars here, icon bar, that's what they're called. And all they do is, when we have responsive design working, it provides the little hamburger, the little icon that goes in the right-hand corner of your screen, right? For all responsive sites. This little icon that looks like 3 lines, right? That's what this thing does. And what it does is we use borders. That's what Bootstrap does. It uses a border to draw a border, right? To draw those lines. That's what it does. So we need those lines. Here's our brand. This is where our logo is going to be. So we need that part, right? And let's take a look at the other stuff. Here's some list items. Here's our UL for my nav bar, right? And notice that I have all this stuff plus a drop down, but I want to have this nav bar nav right. So I want this UL, this one right here, but not this one. So I don't care about this UL. So I want to get rid of all this so far. So from line 29 approximately on my stuff to about line 44, I want to get rid of all that. So this is this piece gone. Next, so I have my collapse nav bar collapse, and then I have, hold on. I have my collapse nav bar collapse, and then I have my form. I want to get rid of my form too, this part. My first UL. And then I have my UL that says, by the way, I'm gonna put this up on GitHub in a second, so you'll have the code, right? And then I have my UL. Here's my UL that has nav bar right. Nav bar right means that I'm pushing all my links to the right-hand side. That's what it's doing. Okay. And I have my link. Here's my link that I have, my single link. But then I have all this crap, right? Which is my drop-down menu. I don't need that, so I'm gonna get rid of all this list item too. Right. So now I'm left with this link, which I'm going to copy 3 times or 4 times, right? So I'm going to go copy, 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 right? And I'm going to put it all in one. I'm going to reformat it in a second. But these are all the links, right? And if you notice, I've got much less code. Now this is going to be my navbar section. Okay, so I've got rid of everything except for the parts that are under where it says navbar right. Okay, that's what it is. So everything else is gone. Okay, cool. So I've got my navbar, but I can't see it because my default.aspx does not use my master page. Let's put all the stuff that's missing from this page from my default page, because I already have a lot of stuff that I want, like all my meta tags and all that kind of stuff should be on my master page, not in my default.aspx page. So for example, my HTML tag should include run at master. And how do I do that? Is there a way of splitting my pages up so that I can have one page that's split up over the other? Can I split my panes up? Is there a way of doing that? Well, one thing that I can do is I can pull anything I want and tear it off, right, in Visual Studio. So I can do that. I can say, let's tear off my default.aspx and kind of pull it over here, right? I can do that. And if you notice, I got all this stuff. Here's my default, my doc type. I want to pull all this stuff in there for sure. So I'm going to copy this and put it over here, right? And what I want to do is I want to switch between these things. Like this one is going to stay, my head and my run ad server and all this stuff up to, but not including my default. I want to take all this stuff here, right, and replace my just before my title. I want to put all that in there. So I want to get rid of all this, my title stuff in there. So let's go back to that other one. Hold on a second. So copy. And then, sorry, it's my copy paste because I'm using a virtual machine. Sometimes it's funny. It worked. There we go. And now notice my title doesn't have anything in it. Please leave it empty like this. Okay? But I do want to put in underneath this part and before my content placeholder, notice that my content placeholder says head. My ID for my content placeholder is head. Right? Now, I don't need it right now, but I'm going to leave it in there, right? And the same thing goes with my content placeholder 1. This makes no sense. Let's call this main content. Main content. So my content placeholder, where it says main content, that's where all my main content is going to be injected. Okay? Right now, it's just a placeholder. I'll wait till it comes on. Back at the top. I still want to put in my links for my CSS and all that stuff. So let's go back to my other page. So I'm going to kind of go back to my other page. And I'm going to grab all the CSS stuff, which is the same. Nothing's going to change here. So I'm going to copy all this, right? And I'm going to go back in here underneath my title and paste it, right? So all that stuff's going to be pasted in. I'm building up my master page, just like I had in my default.aspx, right? And one thing I had in there at the bottom of my page, right, before my body tag and underneath my form, right, I had all this JavaScript stuff. So I want to take all this JavaScript stuff, copy it, and go over here and paste it. So I want to have all my JavaScript stuff in the bottom too. So here's my CSS at the top, like I had, my JavaScript at the bottom. This is part of my, every page is going to have this now, instead of just my default page. Okay? Anything else I'm missing? Let's take a look. Well, I got some content. This is my content. But notice that I put my container here, right? So my container, I don't want this part outside of my form, right? I want this stuff to be, every page is going to be slightly different. So I don't want to include a container in my master page, because otherwise every page will have that. So I don't want to take this div tag. In fact, I want to get rid of this div tag altogether. Okay. Now let's format everything. So I'm going to kind of Control A and right click and then format selection. So now it's going to be nice and beautiful. Okay, so that's my page. That's my simple master page. I can change this, and we need to going forward because this is all wrong, right? These links are just going to say link, 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 right? So I got to change that. But those links are going to appear at every page that I make. Okay, now that I've got that page working, what I need to do is I want to get rid of my default.aspx page because there's really nothing there except for my default stuff. So this page here that I have this, I mean, I've copied everything into my page. So there's nothing that I'm missing right now. So let's get rid of it. So I'm just going to kind of exit here. I'm going to right click for my default.aspx and delete it. Okay, cool. Let's add it back in. But what I'm going to do is add a different kind of page. Instead of a page without a master page, I'm going to add in a page with a master page and point to this one. How do I do that? So I'm going to right click. I'm going to click add. And then I'm going to go new item just to show you where it is. And then I'm going to search for master again, right? And notice when I search for master, I get this web form with master page. That's the one I want, right? And this time I'm going to call it again default.aspx. It's the same default.aspx. There it is. And then press add. Now you're going to get a little dialog box that says, hey, what master are you talking about? Because I can have more than one master page, like I asked you guys to do. I want you to make a content master, a contact master. This is just my site master. So I'm going to click on this one and click OK. what this is going to do is, this is my page now. Look, at content 1, my ID, which is main placeholder, and content 2, right? Content 1 and content, I don't need this one. I'm not going to do anything with my head right now. In my head, I can put in additional CSS or anything else, any other JavaScript that I want to put in specifically for that page. And I can do the same thing for my content. I can put in JavaScript specifically for this page if I really want to. So sometimes I want to have another set of JavaScript that's not available to all pages, just to this one. And that's what I can do with my content placeholder. For now, all I care about is getting rid of this. Let's get rid of this piece, right? And notice that this is my content placeholder. And in here, right, remember we had that hello world, we'll do the same thing. So I'll have, just as a recap, so a div tag, right, with a class of container, right? Same idea. Inside my div tag, I can have a class of row. And inside my div tag, I can have a class of column. Don't worry if you don't remember this. Column medium offset. We're going to do this a bunch of times. Offsets 4, and then another class of column medium 6. We do this. So we have this area in here where I have an h1 tag that says hello world, right? All that stuff that we had before, I have in just this piece right here, because the stuff that I put inside of my content placeholder is going to be injected inside of the place where my site master placeholder. So it's going to take my site master and this content page and smash them together to make the final page. That's what it's going to do, right? And then I'll upload this to GitHub, and you'll see how it changes, right? Okay, let's test this page out and see what I get now. Control F5. So when I do that, it's going to build the page, and if there's any errors, it'll come up. But now I should get, with my content page, I should get this, which is my navbar. So now that I have my navbar, if I create other pages, let's make a bunch of other pages. I want to make an about page. Let's do it together. I want to make a products page, a services page, and a contact page. I'm going to make 4 more pages. Let's do that. How do I do that? Right click, and I'm going to say add. And again, now in my quick hits, because I've made a web form with master page, it appears here. If it's not appearing there, again, you can go the other way and go new item, web form with master page. What's the page called? I'm going to call this about. It's going to click the site master and press OK. Let's do the next one. Just like that, right? So you get used to it. Add web form with master page, right? And then we're going to say products. Right, there we go. I'm going to right click, add web forms with master page, services, right? That's OK. So services, products, about, default, and contact. That's the last one we're missing. Right click. We'll leave the same one. I'll leave you guys to figure out the other contact. I got to give you guys something to do, right? So I'll say add web form with master page, contact. Here we go. So I've got a bunch of pages, right? And now, but I have no way of getting to them. There's no way of me getting to the pages because there's no navigation that tells me all these things, right? Well, the beautiful thing is now that I have all the pages, I can always go back to my site master. Here's my site master. Because I have my navigation right here, I can point to them, right? So my link, this will be the home link, right? This will be products. Well, I'll upload this in a second. Services, right? About us, and contact us. That'll be what my navbar looks like, right? And now I just need the links, because the links will go in here. They'll be the same links. So how do I do the links for these things, right? Well, here's my about. So what if I just put in about.aspx? Seriously, right? Actually, this would be a home that my default.aspx would be here. Default. By the way, there's some things we need to do to fix this. There's some problems with this stuff. We'll talk about that another time. Products.aspx. Services. About us. And we'll do contact. It makes sense. So I've got my nav bar all fixed, right? It's not beautiful yet, but it's all fixed. And let's see if it works. So I'm going to launch my default page. I'm going to close all these pages down really quickly. And I haven't put any other content in any of these pages. I just left them blank for now. A minute, a second. So I want to start my application off by pressing go. Right? What I get now? I should if I'm right, my site master page should have been updated, so I get new links on my page. Let's take a look. There it is. Home, products, services, about us, and contact us. If I click the products page, I go to my products page. It says products.aspx. That's good. So services, same thing. About, contact, and then if I click home, I go back to my default page. All right, so I got my navigation working as well as my hello world. So what if I want to put in, stop me by the way if I'm going too fast, right? Stop? Okay. Let me put this up on GitHub. All right, so I go changes. So these are all the things that I've changed. I've added an about page, a contact page, a default page, a products and services page, right? Really quickly. And I've got navigation for all of them in my site master. My site master then, as you've seen, what it does is it gives me the framework, the wrapper, to give me the same look and feel from one page to the other, right? That's what it does, right? Now remember, this is not the last master page we're going to build. This is not the last template we're going to make together. I'm just showing you to give you an idea of how to make it, and your PowerPoint presentation has all the code in it, so you can make it on your own. Okay, let me take a look and see if I do this. So I'm going to add all these changes to the staging area, and then I'm going to go here and I'm going to say added site master and related pages. Let's say okay, so commit. I'm going to go home. I'm going to go sync, and in a second you should have all this up on GitHub. Push, and now you have it up on GitHub. So you can always look it up. So if you're missing something, you can see the code up on GitHub. You have everything that I have, right? So think about this as maybe your framework for how you can start off your assignment number 1, right? Okay, we're still missing some stuff. I still need a footer. I don't have that. And I haven't put my navigation in a header. Once I change my navigation, I can make it stay in a header. I can add additional things now, and it'll reflect on all my pages. Every page is going to be reflected. For example, I want to make my navigation bar black instead of white, right? So all my pages have the same look and feel, or whatever. Now, you could use your own custom CSS classes as well. But for me, what I want to do, just because I'm using Bootstrap, right, in this example, if I double-click on my site master, notice that in my navigation, right, I want to put my navigation inside of a header. So I use a header. Here's my header tag. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take my closing tag for my header, right? So I'm going to cut and go all the way back down toward the bottom of my navigation where it says nav, right? And I'm going to paste. Don't worry if it's out of order. I'll fix the order in a second, like the formatting. So now my navigation's inside my header, which is actually a good thing, right? From a semantic HTML perspective, we want to organize things, that's something that makes sense for us. Okay, so there's a header. Also, we could have a role if I want to add in some accessibility, because we have to also think about accessibility in this modern age, right? We definitely want to make the top bar, right? Is this a banner? Is this a button? Is this navigation? Which is what it is. That's our header, right? So this header includes our navigation. This is the role that I'm setting it. And this role is an ARIA role. So when I have screen readers and all that kind of stuff, they can see that. Yes? Sure. Very good. So the question is, can I put my GitHub link on Slack? And the answer is absolutely. So if I go to COMP229, right? And if I hit general, right? Then what I want to do is I want to go into my GitHub link, which would be here, right? So this is my now for, you want to talk just for Centennial College or for everything, or just for this lesson? I think maybe everything, right? So here's this thing. We'll go back to here, and then we'll say GitHub link. Go. There it is. Jesus, man, just go in there, click on there, and find it now. That's the first one. You'll be fine. Don't worry. All right, so so now that you've got this piece, I want to change the way it looks. Right now, notice that at the top it says container fluid, and then at the very top, around line 25 in my document, it's got navbar default. If I change this, I can change this to navbar inverse. And navbar inverse, what it does, it changes to black. Right, so that's all it does. So everything is now black. Right, let's take a look. We'll run this thing. Right, and now you can see that all my pages are gonna have a black navbar instead of a white navbar. Right. Again, you can modify this if you look online. You can modify this so it doesn't look like it's a black navbar. Okay, there we go. So it's a black navbar, and if I click on products, it's going to be black now. So same look and feel. That's what the idea of content pages or site master. Yes.
Yeah. Sorry to interrupt.
No problem.
You know how you type in dot content and it automatically.
Yes.
And each time I type.
Yes.
How do you do that?
You have to have VS Web Essentials. So one of the plugins you can get, if you want to try and do that, is there's a plugin called VS Web Essentials. I kind of detailed that earlier. Last time we were together. VS Web Essentials, what it does is it adds in under HTML something called Zen coding, and Zen coding is a syntax, a shortcut syntax that allows me to do those things, right? But it comes from another syntax called Emmet. Emmet is actually a shortcut tool for developers, and it's cross-platform. It works on different, if I go to documentation for a second, it'll tell you how Emmet works. Emmet is a bunch of shortcuts. There's a syntax for Emmet. Here's the syntax. So if I, for example, do something like this, a div with a greater sign UL and a greater sign than LI, then what I'll do is it'll expand to this. So it's a shorthand, right? Now, Emmet is where it comes from, but the great thing is that Visual Studio Code uses, or in Visual Studio, sorry, uses Zen coding. I know. Zen coding, and Zen coding is built into something called VS Web Essentials, which is a free download, right? There's no cost to this one. So you should download VS Web Essentials. If you click download, if you notice there's one for Web Essentials 2015, and then you can see that it might be included in your download, but it's for update 3. Yeah. For shortcuts, like I've been doing right now. An example would be, and to give you a further example, let's say, for example, I wanted to add in more than one thing all at once. Like I want to put in some content, like not just that, but I want to put in a H1 tag with a paragraph content, all that kind of stuff. I can do it very quickly with Zen coding. And the way I can do that is by using the shortcut methods. So thank you for the question. So example would be if I went to my default page, or I shall do the services page because we don't have a services page. So I'll go to my product page or my services page. Here's my product page. And I'll get rid of this one. I don't need this content placeholder because this is the head. I want to just change my main content in my services page, and I want to add in the same kind of stuff. So I can do it all in one line like this. Watch. It's awesome. I did that. Div container, right? Div with the class of container. So dot means class of a container. Inside that, greater than, inside the div of the class of container, I want a div with a class of row. Inside that, I want a div with a class of column dash medium dash offset, what we say 4, with a column dash which one call it medium of 6, and inside that I want to have an H1 tag with hello world, right? Actually, we'll say services or products. Products. Oops, there, and then press tab. Right? So it does it automatically. That's the line. So this is Zen coding. It's a shorthand for doing HTML. So it scaffolds things out quickly. So it doesn't, I don't have to waste my time typing HTML. I just do it one line, it's done. It's a great shorthand for you to learn as a developer. If you're a web developer and you don't know Emmet, it's to your detriment. Oh wow. I don't know what happened there. That was weird. Oh, Little Snitch updated. Skip this version. So tab. Okay, here's the tab. So if I want to add another stuff, let's say I missed something, I can always undo. This is the other thing that's really good with Zen coding. And let's say, for example, I have my H1 tag, but next to it, not below it, but next to it, I can put in brackets. So here's my H1 tag. So brackets are like a separator, right? Or a almost like order of operations. I can use the plus to say that next to my H1 tag, right, I want to put in a paragraph tag. And inside my paragraph tag, I want to have lorem ipsum text, so placeholder text. of about 400 characters, right? So here's what it looks like now. And if it didn't work, notice that you can't see it, but actually it's there. It's 400 characters of lorem ipsum text, right? Right next to the H1 tag. And if I turn on word wrap, you'll see it comes down here, right? But what does this look like? What does this thing look like? So I did the stuff. And by the way, the title of my page, I should change the title of my page to, which I didn't do, to products, right? That's one thing I should put in there. And the same thing goes with my default page. My default page should say, the title should say home page, home. Just say, or you can put whatever you like in there, in your particular case, right? Now let's run this thing and see what I get, right? So I'm going to close some of these off because I don't need them all. So I should be able to see our home page. Now notice that my title page, my title goes here on the title bar, right? And then when I click products, I get all this, right? Because that's what I put in. That's my 400 characters of lorem placeholder text. It's not great, right? It's not formatted properly. It's not big enough, in my opinion, right? And I probably wouldn't put something in there. But now you can see that I can go back from home to products, and I've got some stand-in text or placeholder text that I got in there, right? All right, to save time, I'm going to copy and paste, right? Because I can keep doing this all night, and you guys are going to get confused, right? Or pissed off with me, right? So I don't want that to happen. So I want to go into products, and I'm going to take all this stuff inside my products, copy it, and I'm going to go in services, just to give us so you can see what page is wrong, okay? Not because I want to do this in the real life, right? But because here you can do that. So I'll change this to services. Let's make it, oops, if I can spell, services. And we'll change this title to services. We can do this set up a little bit. And the same thing goes with about. So if I go to about, here's my about page, get rid of this one. We might use that later on, but for now we'll leave it, okay? And we'll put in about us. Okay, so we'll put about us in here. Remember, we did this in JavaScript. We did it with XML, right? In Ajax, right? We don't have to do that anymore. We can use the backend does all this stuff for us. Our server is taking this information and putting it together to render the pages together, right? So we're talking about two different kinds of pages, a master page and a content page. My master page has the design for all my site, right? That's where I put all my design work and everything else. And what are common elements that I want on every page, like a nav bar or a footer. I want those two things on every site master page, right? Or all my pages, right? But in my content pages, all I put in there is the content specific for that page and nothing else. Now my other one, my contact page, it doesn't really have this, it's not the same, right? Because my contact page needs like other things in there. We're gonna work on that. But for now, let's just put this stuff in there and let's get rid of, I want to get rid of, so we'll say contact us, and we'll put contact us. Okay. So we don't want that in our contact page. Our contact page is going to have another, like the form itself is going to have there's going to be some elements in here, right? Okay, so we got our contact page or about page. Let's try this out and see where we're at. So I'm going to kind of run with debugging again. And it's going to take us to our about page because that's where I started off. Notice whatever page I'm on, it's going to launch that page to test. So there's our about us. So I go to my home page, my products, my services, my about us, and my contact us page, right? So all that's working. You guys should all have that as well. Footer, and I want to put my footer, but I want it to be sticky, and I want it to be at the bottom of my bar, right down here. How do I do that? I'm going to use Bootstrap. I'm not going to do any. I want to try and avoid CSS as much as I can in this course, right? Just to make it easy. Although sometimes Bootstrap can confuse people. Okay, so I want to stop this. I want to find in Bootstrap. I want to look at Bootstrap, and in Bootstrap, I want to find a sticky footer bar, right? So if I look at bars themselves, if I scroll down, notice that there's progress bars. And way at the bottom, I have panels and other stuff in here, wells. I have nav bar, right? And I have, bars themselves. If I look at nav bars, there's different kinds of nav bars. I got forms in my nav bar. I've got buttons in my nav bar. I've got different text in my navbar. If it's non-linked text, I can put that in there too. I can have fixed to top, close for close, and then fixed to bottom. So I want to have a navbar that's fixed to bottom, and it gives us an example of what it looks like this. So I want to take this, copy it, right? And I'm going to go back when this comes up. I'm going to go back to my master page because that's where it belongs, not on these content pages. The content page is just for content. The master page is where all my common components go to, right? I'm going to go to my site master. And now I want this to be inside my form, right? Below my content placeholder, right? But above my form. It has to be inside my form. Otherwise, it won't work properly. So I want to put it inside here and then press Control V. Now there's going to be some stuff I don't need, like this piece. I don't need that. So that doesn't make any sense, right? So I got my container, and it gives me some examples of what I need to do. I also have to put in a little bit of custom CSS for this to work, right? Notice the example here. It says I got to fix the bottom, and it says my body padding is required. I need to put this body padding somewhere. Where is it going to go? My custom CSS page, right? So I'm going to take this, copy it, right? And I'm going to go back to my page. Under my content, I have my app.css, and underneath there, I'm just going to put that in. So there we go. My body, my padding bottom, right, is going to be now 70 pixels. Now you can change that if you like. Why 70 pixels? Because that's about the size of my bar. That's going to be in the bottom of my bar, right? Okay, let's go back. So again, this is good, but I want to put some details in here. Like right now, it says my nav bar is fixed bottom, but I don't have anything in there. So let's put in this nav bar, which is inside my site master. Right? Here's my nav bar. I want to put this inside of a footer, right? So inside my footer tag, I want to take this footer, and then we'll reorganize everything in a second. Just from because if we don't put a footer in there, then I can't use semantic HTML as effectively. So I'm going to say my role, right, is again pick the right one. I think content info is probably what I want to put in there. Content info for my role. And what I also want to do is I want to put another div tag in here around my content placeholder right now, just so if we're going to use semantic HTML. So let's say a div tag. And what I want to do is in my div tag, I want to have a role of main content or content. Okay, so if I don't do that, like if I put my main, if I put main in there, because that's really what it is. My role is main. Right, this is my main content there. I want to take this stuff, I want to move it into there. This is just for accessibility. Then I can do some documentation, some comments. So this will be my main content. This is where it's going to go. Down here, this is going to be my footer bar, right? Footer bar. I don't have that yet, but I will. And then up here is going to be my main navigation, which is all this stuff here under my nav bar, right? So where it says my header. So this is my main navigation. Okay, so I've got my navigation. Let's just make it nice. I'm going to Control A, right click, and then format selection so it looks nice. Or otherwise it looks ugly, right? And it's hard to read. But there's nothing in there. In my container, I got nothing. Let's put something. Let's put an H4 tag with something that says, I'll wait till it comes up again, right? And copy, right, 2016, right? And we'll say ASP.NET. How about learn ASP.NET? Learn ASP.NET. There we go. Okay, so what does and copy? And copy means I'm going to put the copyright symbol, right, before my 2016, right? And learn ASP.NET. Now, if I want to put the date in here, I can inject the date. We'll do that later on in later iterations of our site master. But for today, this is a good start. Okay, let's check this out. Let's see if this all runs, and I'll update GitHub for those people who can't follow along so quickly, which is probably most of you, right? But it's not because I want to lose you. It's because I want you to get the idea of how things are flowing, right? And then you can do it on your own. Like you have time to practice on your own, right? So here it is. Notice that I have my learn ASP.NET down here now, right, on my footer bar, and it sticks around, so it's down here every single time. So if I click on products, it's there. If I click on services, it's there. About us, it's there. And contact us, it's there. It's always there. So I've remember, I only updated my site master, but every other page got the update. That's what the power of the site master is for web forms. Okay? So if I ask you questions on a test, site master, it allows us to have a consistent look and feel for our application. Yes? So if I wanted, for example, for my contact page to be different, a different layout altogether. So maybe my navigation would be a little bit different. Or maybe what I want to do is I want to have some additional things in here for my contact page that I don't have on every other page. An example of that would be, I want a panel with all of my social media. That's what I would put in there. That's the only change I would put into my site, my page for, or my master page for content, right? And you can layer it inside of the other page if you really want to, right? So, example, my social media, I want Facebook, I don't know, Instagram, whatever else you want to put in there. I put that panel inside my contact master page, right? That's only for that, but not for anything else, right? And then any other page that wants that, and I might call it my keep connected master or connected master, right? So maybe what I want is some pages, not just my contact page, will have that social media, those links for social media, right? Like maybe, for example, my homepage might also have a different kind of, site master or master page, because it's going to have a jumbotron, right? How do I make a jumbotron? It's just another component, right? So if I go up to, here it is, I passed it, here's jumbotron, right? Here's my jumbotron, right? So I want to make this jumbotron come up. So I want to take this jumbotron with H1 and hello world, take this piece, right? And I want to put this learn more button in there too, sure, why not, right? So copy it. And I can go into my pages, right? So here's my default.aspx page. And instead of just having all this, right, with my column medium offset 6 or whatever, I'll get rid of it. And I'll put in, code this real for my selection. Oh yeah, of course it doesn't do that because I'm still, oh there it is, okay. And now I've got my my site master, or sorry, my default page that has my hello world. So if I refresh, then it should bring up my new page that has my jumbotron. Right, so you just got to give it a sec. If you notice how slow this is, right, so there's my jumbotron. So I mean, you can add in, your different components. The great thing about Bootstrap is it just gives you different components that you can use to make your pages, to build out your pages a lot. Now, I got to tell you some stuff. Bootstrap is good and Bootstrap is bad. Bootstrap is good because it makes us scaffold our page like quick. I can make quick stuff. And the bad part is it looks bootstrappy. I'm just telling you, right? So if your page looks bootstrappy when you hand it in, I'm gonna like, meh, okay, right? But if you change the colors, like you should change your background bar. Like your bar shouldn't be black like mine, right? Like it should be like, make it your own. Use your CSS to modify this. And you can find some themes online just for the colors I'm talking about, not to make don't download a Bootstrap theme from like a, Theme Forest or something. Basic stuff, right? Because that's not what this exercise is all about, right? It's not trying to make your stuff just pretty. By the way, my Learn More button doesn't go anywhere right now. Okay, one more thing. I have Font Awesome, right? I have Font Awesome, and I want to add Font Awesome into my pages. So again, I'm going to do it on my Site Master page, right? Font Awesome, the great thing about that, for people who don't know about it, right? It gives me the ability to put little icons in front of my my links. So they're more professional. It looks much nicer than you normally would have. Take care. They look much nicer, as an example, right? So how do we put those into play? We only have a few minutes, so let's see if we can do this quickly. So if I go to Font Awesome, here it is. And notice what I want to do is I want to get to the icons. So I click on icons. Here's all my icons, right? And I want to search for stuff that makes sense. For example, I want my home button to appear. So this little home, I did this last time too. Here's my home button. And notice that I have to put in this link here, this I link. I'll make it a little bigger for you guys to see it at home if you're watching from home, or if you're watching later on. Notice I have this I tag, right, which is normally, it used to be italics, actually. That's what it used to be. But now italics is gone. We do that all with CSS, right? So we're going to use the I tag with class is equal to FA home, and then FA large LG to make it big, right? And then we ARIA hidden, this is our, we hide them for accessibility reasons. We don't need, people who have trouble seeing this page or are going to use a screen reader, you don't want that to come up, because it would confuse them, right? So we hide them for accessibility. So let's take this, copy it, and then before the link, inside of our, or before the link text, inside of our anchor tag, right, we're going to put that in. So that's the home tag. And we're going to put in FA-large for a large link. And let's do the same thing. I'm just going to copy paste a bunch of times, and we're just going to change the FA home to the other one, right? So put it in. Make sure you have a space between the I tag and the link text, like this, or else it'll be touching. We don't want that. So, oops. What happened? There we go. And then we'll add the spaces in there, and I did it twice. Undo. Undo. I meant to do it the other place. So hold on, put it back in here. Then I'll update GitHub for you so you can see it. All right, so we don't want all the home buttons. It doesn't make sense. Products, you know what? I want products to be some kind of, some kind of grid or whatever. And I think it's FATH, if I'm not wrong. And services would be like the gear. So if I want a gear icon, so if I go back to the gear, right? So it's a cog. I can use the cog icon or something like that. So services or whatever. If I put in services in here, sometimes you'll get you won't get the thing you're looking at, or some kind of map, because sometimes I'll have different things I can offer, right? A globe or something like that, or a menu, if you will, of stuff. So you get menu bars. Like you want to try and find something that makes sense for your thing. But I like the gear icon. I think a gear looks pretty cool. So you can use something called cog, which is the gear. You good? You just leaving you have for no reason, right? So again, if you notice, all you do is just replace the FA home with the FA cog, right? So I can do that. So I'll say FA cog. About us would be like an info, and then contact us will be a phone, right? All right, let's see what we got now. So I'll launch this thing, and if you notice, you'll see that when I use Font Awesome, it puts a little icon before each of the links, right, to make it really quick, like this, right? And now, if you think about it, if I go with the responsive design, remember I said it's got to be responsive. If I click on this thing, it actually shows me the links next to it as well. From a, when you have a mobile device, it'll come up with those things to show you what they are, right? And it does it at the breakpoint. It's automatic. It's built into Bootstrap, right? So you don't have to worry about responsive design. It does all the responsive design stuff for you, right? So nice and quick. Okay, I got a problem. My problem is I don't know what page I'm on. It says hello world, but I don't know what it doesn't say. It doesn't show things up here. How do I do that? Because I'm using one site master, and my site master page, right? It has to know where I'm at, and depending on what I'm at, I want to set up my active page in my link, right? Okay, we're gonna get to this next time, right? Because I know you guys are all timing out. You guys are like done. You guys have had enough of me already tonight. That's the problem with going 4 hours. You guys like, okay, Tom, I can't absorb any more information, right? And it's true. It's too much information to give you all at once, right? But here's the things that I want you to think about. How do I, with code, how do I do something like this? Detect what page I'm on, right? Well, here's a simple example. I know that in the top of my page, I have a title attribute. Contact us, about us, services, my home page, right? My products, right? I know those things. And if I simplify, if I really want to make it simple, right? For example, if I change this to contact instead of contact us, so you can even do that too. Or about, right? services, home, right? Products. These are the things I can switch. I can switch, hint, hint, right? My attribute title, which exists in every page, right? I can do that by reading the page attribute. And I'm going to do that in my site master. I'm not going to do that here. I'm going to do that in my code behind file. My code behind file is in my site master right here. And notice that I'm going to do that on page load. So on page load, what I want to do is I want to say, hey, what page am I on? And depending on which page I'm on, I want to modify the active link, right? My active link on a page, on a list item. So a couple things I need to do. I need to run at each of my list items. I need to run them at the server. That's the first thing I need to do. So, and anytime I want to do any kind of processing on the server, I need to include a run at server on my list item, right? Or any other component. And an example of that would be on my site master, right? So if I go to my site master, I can see that I have a bunch of list items, right? But right now, these list items do not run on the server, right? Because they're not server-side anything. They're just list items. So what I want to do is something like this. I want to say, first of all, I want to do run at is equal to server on each one of them. So I want to run each one of these. I want the server to process each one of these links. Number one, right? Let's do that. So copy, and I'll kind of copy the whole thing and paste it. Actually, I can probably copy the whole thing like this for now. And then just replace these ones with that because they're the same. So I want to run out each link on the server, number one. So now I'm kind of enabling these links to be dynamic, right? Because once I say run at server, I want the server to process them. So every time I do that, whenever this site runs for the first time, it's going to take these list items and process them on the server. The server has nothing to tap into, though. So I need to give each of these list items an ID, right? The ID is not like an ID from HTML, okay? It's not like an ID that we see in HTML. It's an ID like we see in C#, all right? So whenever I give an ID, I'm actually creating variables that I can tap into, right? Here's the example. So in my list item, I can say something like this. My ID, right, is equal to, example, home, right? That's my ID. My ID for this one is equal to what? Products, right? My ID is equal to services, right? And then my ID is equal to about. My ID is equal to contact. Those I put everything in lowercase. It's important for you to do that. If you put this in uppercase, my title and they can clash, right? So trust me what I'm telling you. When I put them all in lowercase, it's going to have the values, right? So now I have a way of tapping into each one of these list items because I've added two things: run at server, which is important, and if I want to have anything processed on the back end, I need to put run at server. Number one. Second thing is, I have to give each one of these things IDs, because if I don't give them IDs, there's nothing that I can refer them to. I can make a reference or a hook like we've done in the past with JavaScript, but now I'm going to do it with C#. All right. One thing that's important is once I've made these changes, I need to build my page in order for me to use it. I'm going to build my solution, and so I know that there's no problems, right? Okay. So number one. Now let's test this thing. If I can see them, for example, in my page load event, this load event triggers when my page loads for the first time, right? What I want to do is I want to see if I can get those. So if I say something like home, notice that it comes up, or services, right? That comes up. It comes up because I'm running at the server, right? But I want to switch on page title. Can I do that? Can I say something like title? No. How about page.title? Can I do that? Yes, I can. So let's do something like, I want to do a console.writeLine, right? But there is no console.writeLine because there is no console that we were used to, right? With C#. So I want to do something else. I want to use something called debug.writeLine, right? Like we've done before, right? And there is no debug.writeLine, but I want to do page.title, right? That's what I want to do. So I want to kind of pump out my page title just to check that we can read the page title every single time, right? And the reason why it's giving this is because we don't have the proper using statement. Control dot. Notice that it says, hey, you need something called using system diagnostics in order for me to use a debug.writeLine. And there it is. It kind of includes it in there. I'll wait till it comes up. All right, so now, for now, all I'm doing is whenever the page loads, and this is my site master page, that means every page that loads, right? Every time any page loads, hear me what I'm saying, right? I want you to use the debug.writeLine to give me the page title in my debugger somewhere. Okay, and where's my debugger? If I run this thing, it's right here. You're going to see it in a second. So forget this for a second, put this down. Notice that over here, I got to wait. This isn't loaded yet, but it's running, and notice that it says ISP9 get my program output home. Right? See this program output home? It's because I use this debug.writeLine to print out the page title, right? That's what it does. Let me go to the next page and watch this output change. Products, right? Services, right? So I'm able to read my page title. If I can read my page title, then I can see that I'm on a page, and I can change my active link for each of the page depending on which page I'm on. Now I have the way of doing it, right? I need to be able to think about how to hook into that. And the way to do that is to do something like this. So I'm going to switch on page title. So if the page title is home, I'm going to look at the home attribute and add in my home ID and add in an attribute that has a class of active into my list item, right? Okay, how do I do that? So let's stop debugging. And then we'll stop for the day, I swear. All right, switch, page.title, right? Remember, my switch statement has a couple things. I have a case, right? And case where the case is home, right? We have a break, right? And then when the case is something like a products, we have a break. And where the case is services, we're going to do something else. And where the case is something like about, oops, we're going to do something else. By the way, this is very rudimentary. You can do it other ways. I'm just not going to show you them right now because they're more complex, but and less clear, more effective. All right, so I know I can switch through the page title. This is C#, right? And I'm looking for the page title, and if it's something, I want to do something else with the page. Okay, good. So now what I want to do is I want to look at this. I want to say, well, if it's home, then I want to look at the home object. And what can I do with a home object, right? I want to inject. I don't want to change my inner HTML. I don't want to do that. But I can certainly look at different things that I can do here, right? I can add a style. I can look at the tag name, right? What do I want to do? I want to change something. I want to add an attribute, right? How do I add an attribute or a class? I want to add a class. Oh, attributes. Now, attributes is thing I can go add. Here's an add, right? Right. And if you notice, add is a method, and it says the string key followed by the string value. So string key class, right? That's the attribute. The string value would be active. What am I saying here? Look at the home object, which I've identified as that list item that has a home ID, right? So this line 18 points to my site master. That's line 43, because I've tagged it as home. This list item right here, this piece. I've said this is equal to the variable called home. That's how I'm tapping into it, right? So then take a look at the attributes property and add a class of active. Okay, let's see if that works for the home page. So if it works for one, it'll work for them all. I just have to keep copy paste. That's why it's a better way of doing it this way, because I'm repeating myself, right? And remember, the one principle that I want you to take away from this course is the dry principle, which is do not repeat yourself, right? Don't repeat yourself. Notice that now home looks like it's active, like I'm on the home page. But if I click products, I got nothing, right? So I want to do the same thing with the other ones, right? So I want to kind of go in here and just take this whole thing, copy it, and modify the variable or the object that I'm affecting. Because they're not variables, they're actually objects. All right, oops, I gotta stop debugging. And then I'll stop today. Sure. I promise. I know, that's crazy, isn't it? I told you I can keep going. All right. So here's what I'm going to do here. Look at this, services, right? And then about, and then here is, if you notice, contacts. Okay, so now I've done them all. And it's a bit of a switch statement that fires when the page loads. The page loads, it activates the switch statement. I check the page title for the page, whatever the page title is, right? And then I change the attribute of each of the list items that I've captured by using run at server and the ID, right? I've captured those things and I change the class of active. This is my page switcher, which I've done before, right? And the nice thing to do would be in my class of my my master page, because this page load event could have many things happening. I don't want to do this. This doesn't make any sense. What do I want to do? I want to extract this as a method, which makes more sense. So I'm going to right click here, and if I want to go to, I can extract this. Actually, I think it's edit, and I think it's refactor extract method. That's the one I want to do. And if I could do that, it's going to ask me, well, what's the method going to include? Here's my new method, right? I'm going to call this method name active page or set active page. That makes sense. Set active page, right? That's my new method. Apply. And what's going to happen is this method, set active page, is going to be triggered when the page loads, which is it's more descriptive than if I was to put my switch statement inside my page load. It doesn't make any sense, right? Okay, now let's test it because we did a lot of work, but we didn't test any. We only tested it one time, right? And then I swear we'll stop. I'll put it up on GitHub. I'll say goodnight. And then you can put your kids down, and I pull my kids down. All right? It's my fault. It's my fault. All right, so let's see if this bloody thing works finally after all this work. Right? Now here's what we've learned while this is firing. See, it works now. So if I go click products, you see that products services, it changed the color so you know what you're on. That's what I did. I just made it so that it adds in a new class for each of the list items. It injects the class, right? So if I right click and if I look at my page source, you can see that my list item, this is my list item, right? And one of them is going to have a class of active, right? Depending on which one I'm on, right? In this particular case, I'm looking at the products page. So the products page also has a class of active on it right now, but it only happens on load. So it doesn't inject them all on all the pages, only on the one that I'm on, right? And then when I'm on the other page, it re-renders everything, it smashes everything together, and it only injects active into that page. But the rest stay the same. So instead of using JavaScript, I'm using C# to do it, right? We could do the same thing in JavaScript. This is just a little easier in C#. Or for me, it's easier anyway. All right, unless some people are like, I hate C#, just go back to JavaScript, this is crazy, right? Yeah. All right, homework for you guys while I do this stuff. And this is for you to, not just the assignment, but for you guys to try this out. I want you to change the brand, because I didn't change that. See the brand? I want you to change that so it goes to the default page, right, in the brand, and add in here, add in another icon, another font item icon that does it. So check this out. Change the brand, right? Start modifying my template. This template that I'm making, start modifying it for your assignment 1. Start adding stuff in there. And you can move things around. You can change the colors. Try to do those kind of things, right? So you can try this out. Let's go into Team Explorer, and let's go into Home. And I'm going to go to Changes, and I'm going to add all these. These are all the changes I made to each page, right? So I'm going to plus, so I'll add all these changes into this thing. So I'll say updated pages and added set active page method to SiteMaster. Right, that's what I did. Commit. Click home, and I did sync and push. Now, guys and girls, one thing to note: I'm not doing very many commits, but even now, I've earned my 4 points. Why? Because as I go, I'm adding things on to GitHub, I keep developing stuff with you, and as I make changes, I'm adding another change to GitHub. So now you can see all the changes, all the snapshots. So if I go back to GitHub, as an example, so here's my GitHub pages right here, and if I look at my this one, I got 5 commits, right? And notice that each commit has a snapshot of my work, right? The last thing you want to try and do, and I'm not going to do it here, is putting it up on Azure, if you want to. And you can certainly commute this to Azure by creating an Azure container and then from there deploying directly. Any questions? So while I'm going through questions, one of the things to note is this big PowerPoint presentation, which is 55 slides, it talks about things in detail, right? Things like what a server control is. And one thing we didn't have a chance to get to today, I wanted to hit the master pages first. Why? Because now that you know how to do master pages, you know how to do basic HTML with master pages. Next week, we're going to use this same slide deck. I'm going to come back to this slide deck, and we're going to do more difficult other controls in here. We're going to add in. For example, we're going to build out our contact page. Hopefully, this will be fixed by then with our pages. But you try it. Take a look at the PowerPoint that I put up. It's an excerpt from the book. I'm going to do it enough every single time. I'll pull some stuff from the book, and there's some things in the book that I didn't include, right? Because I don't think it's necessary these days. Okay. Again, please communicate with me on Slack if you need anything. Remember, assignment 1 is due September 30th. All right. Any other questions? How about the guys in the back that are already getting up and leaving because you're bored of me already, right? Any questions? You're golden, right? You're perfect? All right. Enjoy. Guys, see you next week. Thank you so much for sticking around.